I want to know, the audience wants to know. I mean, I already know, but right, I want to get it out of you. Talk to me about the lifestyle. Talk to me about the day-to-day. Talk to me about your roles and responsibilities. When you're at war, which we'll get into that more in detail, like you're not just walking the streets. You're not just going to the gym to train normally. You're not just going to the bars and hanging out. You're doing those things, but you're doing it in a very deliberate way. So talk to me about the day-to-day lifestyle, operation, and overall mindset that you had as the president of the Hells Angels.
Yeah. So it was definitely, how do I want to say it? It was definitely hectic now that I look back at it. But with me training and loving the gym and stuff like that, that was the love of my day. So every day that I trained, I needed to go to the gym. Well, obviously the other team knew where I was going to this gym. I trained at this Gold's Gym. So they, of course, knew where I was. I was always out running. I was young. So at nighttime, I was out hitting partying. All the strip clubs, yep. Partying. You know, as I'll tell the viewers, but as a lot of people know of me, I've always had multiple girlfriends in my life all at the same time. You know, I had a girl that when it was over with, after the first prison sentence, I was with her 8 years, 6 years, 4 years. Kendall was the 2-year one. And I had them all set up in different spots. A house, a townhouse, an apartment. And that was, you know, the spots where they lived. And I bounced around. The 8-year girl, her name was Nancy. That was my queen bee at the time. I sheltered everything from her, but the rest knew about each other. Mm-hmm. But I kept everything from Nancy because that was the one back in the day that I thought I was going to ride my life out with. I sheltered her from the club. I didn't bring her around that stuff. I was going and doing all the other stuff without her knowing if she thought I was out of town or whatever. So and then I was out constantly in the clubs, you know, with the normal chicks, you know. So I had, you know, we call it the harem back then. Everybody's like, yeah, Mel keeps that harem. And so I was constantly out. I mean,
when you're in the gyms, you told me you'd be in there with the team of security as you're training. I just couldn't imagine walking into a gym and seeing that. That would be a very intimidating.
Yes. So, you know, at first it wasn't like that. I'd be training in the gym. I'd have my gym bag next to me with the guns in it and stuff. And I'd do a set and kind of look out and make sure that nobody was bum rushing the gym.
Yeah.
But then after they were calling the gyms and we were hearing the grumbles and they went to a few other gyms looking for me. I don't know if it was just to throw me off. Maybe they'd think I didn't know. Maybe to get, they're looking at a gym 20 minutes away. They don't know where I'm at. I knew they knew where I was at. That's when we put the team together. That was my security team. So when I was training, they were at the front door and sitting up, by the shake counter and stuff like that, pistoled out. Anybody comes in looking like they didn't belong in that gym. Yeah. My guys were going to see who they were. Mm-hmm. You came in with some tattoos and some facial hair. Oh, you could believe my guys. If they didn't know you, hey, what are you doing? Who are you? Mm-hmm. They didn't let nobody get by me. Taking girls out to dates, man, taking them out to the nice places in Chicago. I mean, the most expensive restaurants, because I'm making a ton of money back then.
So basically during the height of the war, you're not trying to be low key. You're not trying to be discreet. You're literally doing the opposite of that.
I'm driving around in a Corvette with Mr. 187 on the plate.
Which 187 for those who don't know?
Is the penal code for murder, So I'm flamboyant. I have business cards that have made that said, Crime Incorporated, we supply what you demand. I'm just pushing the button at the federal prison going, take me in, right? Not knowing it at the time, but I mean,
I get it.
Flamboyant.
I get it.
23, 24 years old, making a gang of cash and having the club on the track of, man, we were outnumbered in Chicago.
As far as revenue, you said you're making a ton of cash. The majority of income that you guys had coming in was from the drug game.
And the guns.
Got it.
The drugs and the guns. I was able to get, nice
source of revenue through both.
Yeah. I didn't have a care nor I had the girls, I had the money, I had the different spots, and I was living that, I don't want to say everybody's dream because not everybody's doing that, but I'm at 23 years old, I'm like a kid in Toys R Us. Like they opened up the door and they said, son, run through here, everything's free. And I'm running through, right? And keeping the crew on track and keeping us, making sure we're taking care of business and that. We were very outnumbered in Chicago, from the other side. The Outlaws were very, very dominant there, man. And at the height of everything, we had 27 guys, and in all the areas around us, the Outlaws put their crews together. I mean, they can put 120 guys together in 30 minutes of phone calls. So we were really, outnumbered. But what kept us strong was the unity we had with each other. We had a young crew, me being the youngest, but I showed you a picture, and we had a very young crew, and most of the guys trained. Back then, there was no MMA, so we were just all pounding on the bags.
Sure.
You had to make sure you were in shape, but you couldn't be so big that, you were in a bar and you couldn't fight.
You had to be ready to go.
That's why everybody's like, man, Mel's good with his hands, because I practiced as I was growing.
Sure.
So as I was 290 pounds, I could still get on that bag and work that heavy bag, because you never know. We were fighting in bars with just street people from Chicago. Chicago was a rough place back in the day.
It still is.
Chicago, yeah. I mean, you just got to get a guy that gets stabbed in the bar and they're shooting pool over him. Nobody breaks stride back then. So it was very, very hectic. It got to the point where, like I said, I would take a girl out for, let's go downtown to Tavern on Rush and eat tonight. Okay, babe. Okay. And then the three guys are sitting at the table next to me. Sometimes they'd sit at the table with me and stuff. But if it was like the girl and I was trying to have like a halfway romantic dinner with her, the fellas would be like, we'll just be at the table next to you, or be at the bar right here, and stuff like that. So, it was crazy. I became, without knowing, public enemy number one to the federal government. To back then, Janet Reno was the Attorney General of the United States. Janet Reno was, and the things got so crazy with the bombings and the shootings and everything like that the government put a full court press on us. And Janet Reno named it Operation Lucifer. And so what happened under this Operation Lucifer case, they raided 5 of us, me, the vice president, the sergeant of arms, the secretary, the treasurer. They raided 5 of us on this one morning. And they locked us all up, and they really got nothing. At one of the guys' houses, they were scraping cocaine off a mirror. I mean, little minute dust like that. My house, they grabbed a drawer full of steroids, which I took back, and everybody knew I was taking steroids. They grabbed about 32 different guns that were locked up in a safe, and my girl had a gun card at the time. I didn't, but I wasn't a felon, so they couldn't charge me with none of the guns that were in the house. And so they charged me with inositol, and I know you're probably familiar with that, which is a vitamin B. It's called inositol. And but back in the day, everybody cut their cocaine with it because it was white, it didn't smell, it was pure, it was a vitamin.
Yep.
And so I had a big jar of it, a 1-pound jar or whatever like that. So they said that they did some testing on it, and they said I cross-contaminated it by putting the spoon from the cocaine, and they charged me with a pound of cocaine, which when we went to court, everything got dropped because it was all just pure inositol. So long story short, that Operation Lucifer got everybody a misdemeanor. So you could imagine
how pissed off
the government was when...
Because let's just paint the picture, because people who've never been through the system don't understand the man hours, the time, the energy, the money. Like, they're fully fucking committed. Their purpose, their agenda, months, in some cases years of their life is dedicated to one thing, and that's getting a conviction.
Yes, a solid conviction and not a misdemeanor.
No.
I mean, it was so bad at the end, they were like, hey, will your clients plead guilty to 1 year in prison? And our lawyers were like, no, we'll go to trial.
Right.
So then finally they were like, okay. They couldn't charge me for the distribution of steroids because what got them in our houses was 3 consecutive trash pickups. They were taking my trash from the street. We didn't know it. They were getting syringes out of me because I was injecting myself and everything like that. So they tried to charge me with the distribution of steroids, which would have been the felony, but they couldn't get it on me because obviously I was a bodybuilder taking the hormones. They had the broken needles in there, the broken ampules and stuff like that. So like I said, I pled guilty to a misdemeanor, got a year supervision. So did the other 4 guys. They got nothing on them. It was a big flop. And that's when I knew right then and there
that the shit was on.
The shit was on. And now we were at kind of, so to say, a war with the federal government.
So now there is, in fact, 2 wars.
2 wars going on. I say it all the time. I had the other guys that were trying to knock my head off my shoulders and put it on a mailbox stick. And I had the government that was trying to pump me sunlight through 100 years in prison and put me under a prison.